Len Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1. Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Pastor Chuck Brown from St. Timothy Cumberland Church in Bedford. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Would you join me in prayer? Eternal God, we thank you for this day and for each and every day that you give to us. We thank you for all your tender mercies towards us, and we thank you for this fair county in which we live. We thank you for these who have come forward to be leaders among us. We ask you to grant to them the spirit of wisdom and discernment, that they might make wise decisions for the county, that we might prosper under your blessings. We ask your blessings on all those who are working in this county, those who are not working, who are searching for work, and we ask that you would help us to find ways to create more jobs so that more people will be working. In all things, we ask for your blessings that we might bless others, and it's in the name of my Savior Jesus that I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate you doing that. Agenda announcements, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have two announcements for the court this morning. The first item is under proclamations and resolutions, item 6A. We're going to hold that particular resolution until next week. Also, members of the court, under purchasing, item 8H2, which is bid 2012-035. We're going to ask that we hold that for 1 week also. Thank you, Your Honor.
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of January the 17th.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We're now going to have our leadership participants recognized. And Larry, come forward, and we're glad to see you here again. This is how many years have we been doing this now?
10.
Has it been that many?
Time flies.
Especially when you're having fun.
When you're having fun. And
go.
we do. This is the 2011 Leadership Development class. We have 14 out of about 22 who completed the class. They are required to take 10 classes during the year, and they can choose 2 other classes. They do have to do 1 independent study of an area outside their own, so we try to prevent the silo effect from being too rampant. So the Leadership Development Program, some of the classes are listed, the required classes are listed on your agenda there, and then they can select from other classes. And now present the 14 people who completed the class and ask them to come before the court. Robbie Arbor, County Clerk. Michelle Cummings, Public Health. Sandra Davis, County Clerk. Juana Garnett, Tax Assessor Collector. Elita Hernandez, elections. Donna McClung, elections. Catherine O'Markall from Domestic Relations. Jason Pricer, Tax Assessor Collector. Eloy Rivas, Precinct 3 Maintenance, is not with us this morning. Yvonne Salazar, Tax Assessor Collector. Amanda Thomason, Domestic Relations. Daniel Taylor, Tax Assessor Collector. Elizabeth Wall, Tax Assessor Collector. And Sherry Williams, Public Health.
Now, if you can't see, if you got, and I know, I was fixing to say, and I know these folks behind this guy can't see them. If you can't see the camera lens, then you need to be moving. Don't worry about it, the flash never flashes.
GK, can we get her some batteries?
I think we're going to need to get her some training money to figure out if she does that.
Thank you all very much. Thank you again.
Congratulations.
Could I have a motion to receive and file the recognition of our 2011 Leadership Program participants?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Court members, you have before you our consent agenda.
Move approval.
A second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius, come on down.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have two items yet for your consideration this morning. First, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve interim financing for grant year 2011 for the U.S. Department of Housing and Human and Urban Development tenant-based leasing assistance. That's Program 114, and this deals with community development. This is a 4-month advance. We have been notified that we are going to get the monies. We're just waiting for all the documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the Court approve the electronic submission of fiscal year 2013 Juvenile Accountability Incentive Block Grant applications.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Snyder.
The Risk Management Board is recommending the payment of claim to David and Stephanie Morris in the amount of $25,9057.
Move for approval.
Second.
$25,9057.
Isn't that what I said?
I think it may have been, but I wasn't sure I heard it. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning. Our next item is approval of a waiver of terminal benefits for the Justice of the Peace Precinct 2. One of their court administrators is retiring on January the 31st with 361 hours of vacation time. The cost of this will be approximately $1,164. However, there will be some cost savings and which will offset that.
I move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. You said that the cost was going to be about $1,100. I think that's the actual.
Yes, but there will be salary savings to offset that.
Right.
Yes.
The actual waiver itself is about $7,400, isn't it?
That's,
74.
the new hire will be approximately, well, the cost of the waiver will be approximately. And. Okay. Yes, it's.
Based upon the fact that it's going to come out in the wash and there seems to be no other discussion, please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Feels like Monday.
Mr. Beecham. Oh, we're going to have to wait till we got at least another 9 months for, well, not quite 9 months for football
I
season.
hope so.
We have two items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for RFP number 2012-009. This is an RFP for a laboratory information management system for the ME's office. The recommendation would be to award the Computer Solution Company the amount of $281,685,000. If this is approved, we're seeking contract approval from the court.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
We can skip to number 3, which is our last item. This item in regards to RFQ number 2012-001. This is a request for qualifications for the architecture and engineering services for the Tarrant County Northeast Sub Courthouse Expansion Project. We're seeking approval from the court to conduct negotiations with the two highest rated firms, GSBS Architects and Hanfield, Hoffer, and Sanford, both in Fort Worth, Texas.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Good morning, Your Honor. We are requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a conveyance of a permanent gas pipeline easement across the Greenbrae property located at 2500 Urban Drive to Atmos Energy Corporation. Said easement having a market value of $4,725 in an in-kind exchange for work performed by Atmos Energy at 600 Weatherford Street, which is the new jail, and that invoice was $6,354.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fickus.
We have an interlocal with the city of Hearst for work to be performed on Norwood and Bel Air. Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 8K1.
1A and B.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any appointments? CUC has a policy committee, and Commissioner Brooks had been on that, and I asked if he would mind if I went back on that policy committee, and he said he would have no problem whatsoever, and so with the court's approval.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Briefing.
Briefing items. No.
No. I move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
You get me in trouble here, JD. I go right ahead with what you're saying here, and you get me in trouble. We We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any
Taking you
discussion?
forever.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items. Early's late.
Members of the court, we have two items, and we're going to change the order of those items for this morning. We're going to go to item B first. This is a report from Texas AgriLife Extension Service, which is a briefing concerning financial literacy coalition. Mr. Ross is here to give us the report.
Good morning. How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Good. I'm sure that you'll get to see the PowerPoint, right? You'll see the PowerPoint? Very good. Do I need to do it? Okay. Okay. Oh, fabulous. Yay. Do we wish or do we think that money grew on trees? Some of us do. I know a lot of us would wish we had a money tree in our backyard. And so for financial literacy here in Tarrant County, a lot of families I've worked with would hope that there was a money tree in their backyard. I'm not going to read everything to you, but the relevance for financial literacy here in Tarrant County has not gone away. The need to continually educate families, which include young people, adults, senior adults, young adults, about how to manage their money has not changed. Yes, our economy has not been the best for the last few years, but for some people it has had the chance to turn around, and learning how to manage your money on a daily basis is still there and still relevant. In addition to that, and for my response part of that, because I do believe that as a county extension agent, I do need to respond to people when the request comes through for financial management programs. I have served all parts of Tarrant County. This is just a brief snapshot of the ones that I've done that I'll be presenting today. And they've gone from community groups, church groups, ladies groups, men's groups, people who've trying to move from homelessness to self-sufficiency. The need to learn about how to manage your money is still there. Why are people becoming homeless? Part of it is they do not know how to manage their money. So in my classes, when I'm teaching them, the basics are how do you make a spending plan work? And a lot of people don't understand a spending plan, which is a budget, which in my world, that's a dirty word. We don't use it because spending plan sounds more user-friendly. So we want people to learn how to stretch that dollar a little bit farther. And so even though some of my classes may be a one-time class, a lot of them do like to hear about the other classes that I'm offering and have followed and gone around. Last year, in addition to the response, I had a new partnership with a different department for community supervision and corrections because I still do the classes with the domestic relation office here in downtown, which is the child support department where their non-custodial parents are behind in child support. But I did start a new partnership last year. It was very successful. A lot of the people on probation were complaining that they couldn't do it all. Can't pay probation, I can't pay my other things, so what do I need to do? So we started classes to teach them with a high success rate. And then I also started a volunteer program last year because I can't do it alone. We all need volunteers to help us. So I did start a volunteer program. I did also continue to work with the workforce solution sites too in Tarrant County that had a very high attendance rate, high folks being unemployed. And then you'll see the continuing list plus lesson series I do downtown here at the Extension office. Just a variety of people, just a sample of the folks that I've worked with. Here's just some of the results from the different locations and working with different people. 96% of the folks who were at the Miller locations, the YWCA, the East Side and Mid-Cities workforce said that they strongly agreed that they gained knowledge on how to manage their debt after completing the lesson series. A lesson series is anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, depending on if it's an hour-and-a-half class or a 2-hour class. Some things that they were going to learn are up there, but anyone who's willing to treat their savings account as a bill is great. If people are saving money, that means they are controlling that instant gratification, and they're waiting so that they can make a more financially sound decision. Something that they're going to do as a result of the class, they're going to look at their credit report. It's amazing how many people do not know what's on their credit report, haven't seen their credit report. It's very easy to get a free credit report, and so I encourage everyone to do that. The other one that sticks with me is the save 9 to 12 months worth of living expenses. Another huge way to not have to file bankruptcy, to be able to take care of yourself if you should happen to lose your job. And that's just from this group. The Domestic Relations Office, 274 people completed evaluations. The big thing about this is these parents, as long as we can keep them from going to Tarrant County Jail, it is $60 a day we save on each person because they're still out working and learning how and why they should pay their child support and not sitting in the Tarrant County Jail and affecting the bottom line for the county that way. So just a lot of different tips that they work on, that they're going to try. They're going to cut back on food shopping, which is a huge one. No one said they were going to quit smoking. We talk about how much that costs for them and their needs versus wants to figure out what they really need and what they really want. It's a huge thing. And then the last one is a lesson series I did at the Extension office primarily for women. Women live longer, so we need to learn how to manage our money for a longer spell of time. So 94% of them stated as a result of the class that they would develop a home filing system, create a personal information system, and some other things. But the number one comment from the class, and one of the ladies who participated, she went home for the first time in 7 years of being married and actually sat down with her husband, and they had a conversation about money. And a lot of spouses don't do that, and it's very important for couples to survive to talk about money. Still the number one cause of divorce, and we hate that, but people who do not talk about money in their house suffer more. That also takes away time from work and some other things when you have money issues. So future plans, I do plan to continue the programs, and to answer the need, I am recruiting for the Dollars and Cents volunteer program so we can expand our reach for people who need to learn about financial literacy. By request of a program participant last year, many adults are having to take care of either their parents or a relative, and so it's hard to figure out how to manage that other person's finances. So a program that will be introduced in March of this year to kind of go over what you need to do, how to broach the subject with your family member on how to take care of their finances and yours will start. I will also continue to offer the Welcome to Retirement program. The Money Talk lesson series will go on. My Money 2020 newsletter goes out to over 800 homes in Tarrant County. And then about a year and a half ago, I started the Financial Smart Start, which is a newsletter for newlyweds to start the conversation before they get married about money. A very good thing to do. So don't we all wish money grew on trees? Are there any questions for me?
Are you working with students, high school students?
Yes, I do. When schools allow me to come in, last year I didn't do too many schools, but the year prior to that I did. Several schools that have working programs, I do go out to the schools.
And you also utilize Tarrant County Credit Union, don't they?
Yes, sir, I do. Yes, we do partnership on all the lesson series at the Extension office in the evening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Good work.
Thank you.
Your Honor, on item number 1, I advised Mr. Early that we should expect him at about 10:30. We're running a little early this morning. I can have him scheduled.
Sounds like he's gonna be right after closed session, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like that to me. We just might as well, just either that or we take a 5-minute break and come back and see if he's here.
Whatever you want to do.
Let's take a 5-minute break. I don't
All right.
know. walk, Mr. Lake.
That's Mr. Irvin.
Sorry about that, Robert. I want to apologize to the lady that I drove off of Main Street on my way to get here on time, but I do feel that the care that she will receive at JPS will be good care.
Did you start the fire over there this morning?
I did not start the fire. I just caused the accident on my way here. And I do want to thank Mr. Manius for taking the fall. It was my mistake in that I tried to have too many meetings in too many places at one time. But I did want to give you all a few updates on some things that are happening at JPS. We've had some staffing changes and some leadership changes. And one of the leadership changes that you need to know about is we have a new medical staff president. And his name is Dr. John Stella. Dr. Stella has been with JPS for a long period of time. He's an oral maxillofacial surgeon, and he's a very good gentleman doing a good job, and he knows JPS backwards and forwards, and he will now assume the reins of medical staff president, and you'll probably have opportunity to meet him, and it might be good at some point if I bring him down to the court and let him introduce himself to you all as court members. Also, many of you have met Chris Doherty. Chris Doherty was our Senior Vice President of Community Health and dealt with all of our community clinics. Wonderful employee. When you have wonderful employees, other people like wonderful employees. And he listened to the siren song, and he is going to Lubbock to join Lubbock to become the CEO of the Children's Hospital in Lubbock.
That wasn't a siren song. That was the wind blowing across.
Well, it probably was the wind, and I have no comments about leaving Fort Worth and going to Lubbock, but I did tell him that, he'll be spitting dust at times. But nonetheless, he was a great employee. I was honored to have him on our team, and he will leave us, sadly. But what we have done is, many of you might know Dr. Lisa Carter. Dr. Carter is the past president of our medical staff. She's been at JPS for 22 years, and she will come into that role. And I think she will do excellent. She is a provider, she knows our patients, and she knows what our patients go through, and I think she'll be a huge plus to us. Also, on a sad note, our CNO, Joanna Adams, was in an accident over the Christmas holidays. And Ms. Adams will be out from JPS for an unfortunate amount of time. I'm sure she doesn't mind me telling y'all, but she broke her femur, and unfortunately her femur is broken in 12 different places. So her recovery is going to be difficult. She was unfortunately hit by a vehicle, and so she's going to have a slow and tough recovery, and we all hope for the best and pray for her. Courtney Kimberling is a young lady on our staff, wonderful person. Been in Fort Worth, was in academia for 12 years, was over at SMU for a period of time, has been in development. She will now assume the role of the director of our foundation. The other thing we're doing with our foundation, which we will come out publicly with it, but we'll be changing the name of our foundation. Currently, the name of the foundation is Partners Together for Health. And that have at least been told to me by numerous people a little bit confusing as to what that was. So we thought we'd come up with a novel name and call it the JPS Foundation. Seems to be more appropriate as to what it does. Yeah, I thought we put a focus group together, and that's what we came up with. But we'll work on that. And then our last change is we currently, as our Vice President of Human Resources, is a fine lady named Dresden Flynn White. And Dresden joined our organization almost a year and a half, 2 years ago. And we are changing her title to Chief Diversity Officer. And we're going to move her from the HR side to diversity issues. And the reason that being is we want to be certain that we're an organization that has absolutely no barriers for any contractors or vendors that work with us. We want to make sure that anybody wishing to be employed at JPS finds no barriers. And we want to create a level of cultural sensitivity. When you have an organization where 55 different languages are spoken on any given day, and you have cultural mores and religious mores, you need to have cultural sensitivity amongst your own staff. So we're putting her in that role as Chief Diversity Officer. And
What is her name again, Robert?
Dresden Flynn White. And I'll make sure that she meets you, Commissioner,
as well. But she's a great addition to our team of 2 years ago, and I think in her new role as Chief Diversity Officer, it makes a statement for where JPS thinks it needs to go in the future and what it needs to do in issues such as diversity and making sure we are where we need to be. The other thing that I would like to do is I'm going to hand out to Mr. Manius, because I know he doesn't like when I just hand them out to you. What this is a...
You got to release them. You know, you got the control. Now go ahead and pass them out.
It's out of respect that I do that, and you rolled your eyes fairly significantly. It is. What I wanted to do is we had Dr. Kalafi come before our board at our last board meeting and present to the board where we were with the JPS Heart Program. And again, I want to thank you as commissioners and leaders of this county, because when we changed our heart program a year ago, there obviously were concerns within the community, can JPS do this? This is a little brochure that we did in-house to give you an idea of what we're doing. The one area the judge's eyes will go to first is we approximately spent about $22 million in out services that we provided our heart patients. We're now doing it in-house for about $21 million. That is, I think, not only something that's wise for the taxpayers, but the other thing that is good is we, on our one-year anniversary, dealt with 175 patients, and we had 175 successful hearts. And for the acuity levels that we have, because we get some of the toughest cases, that's phenomenal. We also now have ranked ourselves with the third most populated heart surgeries in the county, and that will probably continue to increase. We had a site set at probably 150 heart procedures in a year. We ended the year with 175, and now we're just under 200 hearts that we've done since we ended the first year, which is at the end of November. So we're very proud of our heart program. It's doing very well, and I do think that the Fort Worth Star-Telegram did a very good job of outlining where our program was and had a very nice and factual story in the paper that I'm very pleased that they communicated what was happening so the taxpayers know how we're spending their money. So that's really what I have for y'all. I apologize for making y'all recess, but I tried to do 2 meetings at one time, and I won't do that again. So,
talk to us a little bit about the waiver, CMS.
Yes. The 1115 waiver was officially passed by CMS. And what the 1115 waiver does is during the legislative session, the legislature saw to it, in order to create cost savings, is they would put into place in Texas a managed care program. And they estimated that savings to be about $450 million to the state if we put people in a managed care program. The difficulty and the challenge in that was it was an estimated savings. But the federal guidelines for reimbursement dollars state that if you have a managed care program, you can no longer receive upper payment limits, UPL dollars. And without getting into the weeds of that, it would have been a $1.2 billion loss to the state of Texas. That's why it's a waiver. It allows us to go outside of that realm and be able to continue to receive those payments at the same time having a managed care program. What that means to JPS is 2 things. They created 2 pools of money. The first pool of money is uncompensated care. The advantage to that pool of money will be money coming from the feds now will track directly to uncompensated care patients. That's a good thing. And it will create higher levels of accountability in how tax dollars are being spent, particularly Texas tax dollars being sent up to Washington and then reimbursed for greater amounts and coming back home. The second pool is what they call the DSRIP pool. The DSRIP pool is a fund of money that will create regional partnerships for a continuum of health care. And what we will do in Tarrant County is we will look to the counties to our west. The state has suggested to us that we look at Denton County, Wise County, Parker County, Johnson County, and Hood County, and look at trying to figure out how we create partnerships with those counties so that patients get not only better care, but they're not just showing up to Tarrant County emergency departments. And what that would mean was looking at more primary care models and more primary care clinics in those communities to create a continuum of care. The other thing that we want to do...
Supervised by whom?
Well, the way they have the bill written, Commissioner, or at least the bureaucrat, the legislation, is what they would do is the public hospital would be the anchor hospital, and they would be the ones that would be organizing these partnerships. But there's an incentive to become involved in these partnerships, because if you're not involved in the partnership, then you're going to limit the amount of funds you can bring down from the federal government. So I think they wrote it in a very smart way, and they've allowed us, they define us in the language of the legislation, they define us as an anchor institution. As an anchor, we are to coordinate and drive those programs best we can.
So in effect, you supervise, or you're kind of...
And the reason that we supervise and watch that is I would like to think it's just because we're great and wonderful, but the intergovernmental transfer funds, the IGT dollars that are put up so the federal funds can be matched and come back down, is only being able to be put up by predominantly public hospitals. In fact, 4 public hospitals in Texas, us, the Dallas County Hospital District, the Harris County Hospital District, and the Bexar County Hospital District put up 87% of the funds for all the hospitals in Texas. So because of that reason, and that pulls down the federal funds, we've been put in a leadership position.
So the money to build those clinics are coming from this grant?
It's coming from federal dollars, yes, sir. Now we have to compete for it and everything else, and it's not just a bag of money. You're going to have to figure out how that money gets distributed properly, and it's not just free money out there. We have to look at those programs and make sure that they create what CMS, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare, see fit to fit their guidelines. But yes, in essence, it is our effort to try to create that.
And then in the past, I mean, last year where a lot of that money came in and it went directly to the other hospitals within the county, that money comes through you. And I know you've already had some, because I've had some conversations with some of the administrators already, and I know you're already meeting with them to talk about how that would work in the future.
Yes, we've met with, so far we've met with the administration at Baylor, we've met with the administration at THR, we've met with the administration at Cook. We're setting up meetings with the HCA facilities as well. And so far there's been an incredible cooperative spirit on their behalf. I think we're very fortunate in this community to have the hospitals that we do. I hear some of my other colleagues throughout the state, and they don't have the relationship that we have the privilege to have. I think it's been quite beneficial. I think it's going to be a great thing, and I also think it's going to be a transformation in how we spend our money. I think taxpayers should take pride in there's more accountability of their money. I think it will be a good thing. It's a 5-year waiver, so it will be in place for 5 years. And over that 5-year period of time, it will mean $29 billion worth of potential funding. It sounds like a lot, and it is, but it's also for the state. That's $29 billion for the state for 5 years. The challenge that we have is the way it's written, we have to put up the plan for 5 years. And that's hard to calculate out 5 years what you think are those continuum of health care and programs that we want to start. You can amend it, and we've already met with the department as to how we go about an amending process, because trying to outlay 5 years in health care is a real difficult challenge. We change in health care by the week, depending on who's giving a speech and what levels of changes there are at court levels and other things. But I think the 1115 waiver is a very good thing for the state of Texas, and had we not had it, we would have definitely seen a significant reduction in federal funding, which would have devastated the state. I also think you're going to find counties, and where you all as commissioners and the county judge will play a great role, is I think you have far more input into this process. And certainly here locally, we'll see to it that that's the case. You'll have a significant seat at the table where I think historically you have not. And I hope the model that we create for that will be emulated by others in the state. And that becomes a greater challenge for your colleagues, and particularly you, Commissioner, with your role as past president of the association, in what you do in counties in Texas that don't have a public hospital, and what role county government plays in those. I just got back last week from testifying at the County Affairs Committee and talking with them about issues, about what you do in counties where you don't have a public hospital.
And that may be a conversation that we need to bring in with the surrounding counties.
Yes.
Bring their county representatives from their courts in.
It's what I'd very much like to do, and I think you all are going to play a pivotal role in communicating with your peers.
But remember when they passed the trauma legislation, it goes to all the counties, regardless of whether they have any kind of a trauma facility
Right.
within their.
Right, and the difference with this is uncompensated care dollars only go to uncompensated care patients.
Okay.
So it has a far greater level of accountability. The other thing I wanted to let you all know, and I want to thank the leadership at the county, but the leadership at the county and Mr. Manius and his team have allowed for many of the folks from the county to come to JPS, which will be providing lunch and a tour of the facility, because I think it's real important for county leaders to see how their county public hospital runs. So those of you who are coming, we can't wait. We have yellow Jell-O and cottage cheese ready for you. And it's going to be an exciting time by all. We look forward to seeing you there, Mr. Manius, as you take your tour and eat your cottage cheese as well. Thank you.
I don't eat dairy products.
Okay, well, we'll give you double Jell-O then.
You want to talk a little bit about Dr. Young and his role as CMS?
Dr. Young, as reported in the paper, was accepted in essence, a fellowship with CMS to provide the federal government suggestions and guidelines on how we reform Medicare, Medicaid dollars. And Dr. Young, Dr. Richard Young, is a primary care physician with us. He's been at JPS for a good number of years. He's a wonderful person. He has a lot of ideas. He's published quite a few books and entries into journals about how federal dollars are spent on Medicaid reimbursement. He was the only one selected from Texas to serve on a panel to go to Washington for meetings with CMS and suggest changes. The reason that that's powerful and the reason that Dr. Young will play such a key role is Texas plays such a key role in reimbursement dollars. When you are the state with the largest amount of people that are uninsured, you're going to play a critical role in figuring that out, particularly in light of what happens in 2014 when everybody changed from a potentially uninsured role to being into the exchanges and having a card that provides some level of supposed care. So we got to figure out how we deal with that. So, Doctor, thank you for bringing that up.
There was only 37 individuals from across the United States that were chosen, and Dr. Young was one of those 37.
Yes, and the only one from Texas, and so we're real proud of him. He's a really great guy, and I think he'll be hugely helpful in Washington. Thanks, GK, for bringing that up.
He can have my cottage cheese.
I get it. Your Honor and Commissioners, anything else you have, I'd be happy to answer. But thank you, and I apologize for the recess. Yes, Commissioner.
Can you clarify the CDO position? Is that a part of the HR department? Or?
It's going to be it'll be separate, and I think it needs to work with HR and needs to continue to work with HR. But it'll be a new division for JPS and a new effort. Yes, a whole new division. I think, and the reason that I did that is I think if you had it in HR, it still wouldn't have had the impact that I wanted it to have, and I wanted it to have an impact not only to the community but internally. So I want it to be a standalone department.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all very much. Thanks for tolerating me.
Remember Eric, if you will.
I will remember Eric, and I'll make sure that gets taken care of.
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
Being no further business, we will recess our open session and move to closed session to discuss items exempted under 551.07, 1072, 074, 076, and 087 Texas Government Code.
Screaming video on?
It's on.
Screaming video.
Having returned from closed session, we have no business before this court. This meeting is adjourned.